Oh, you know what today is. When this video comes out, it will be 10 Toads Tuesday, baby. And if you've watched and you've been keeping up, in a previous video, I told you I was going to tell you a story about my dad, about my pops. I'm always talking about him, but I love him, so I'm going to talk about him. And it ain't nothing you can do about it except turn this off. So, if you don't want to hear about it, you feel free to turn it off, but I would ask you to just go ahead and hit that little thummy thingy. So, I don't know, I forget the year, I have to ask him, but it was either right before I was born or right after I was born. My dad and mom talked, and they wanted to purchase a house. And this is in the 70s. So this is between 1970 and 74. Remember, I'm 50, 74. And he wanted to buy this house. He had the down payment, and it did, like, you guys are talking about 10% interest rates. At that time, 70, 80 interest rates, the average interest rate, a 10% interest rate was low at that point in time. Now, granted, houses prices were lower, but that's about what the interest rate was. It was about 10%. So he got his funds together. He had the down payment. Little known fact, it wasn't until recently, and I have to ask him if he was able to use his VA loan about that, but at one point in time, there's a book called The Color of Money. And it talks about how veterans, when they get back, were not able to use their VA loans. Yep, that's right. Look it up. It's a real thing. But he had the down payment. They did everything. It was either over the phone, but the owner never met my father. So they go through a process. And my dad actually, he talked to him on the phone throughout the whole transaction. And if you've ever bought a house, you know, sometimes you, the buyer and the seller sit down for closing. That means you sign all the paperwork where this house is going to be yours. You've done everything. You have your, you know, earnest money and closing costs and all of that stuff. Bring that to the table. Well, him and my mom, my dad and my mom, they go to the table. Seller comes to the table. Looks up. He sees my dad. And he says, the look on his face was priceless. But what he told my dad, I'll never forget. This is Dayton, Ohio. He said, if I had known you were black, I wouldn't have sold you the house, because the house was out in the country. It wasn't in the city. He said, I wouldn't have sold you the house. And I said, why? You didn't sound black on the phone. Oh, so I wasn't shucking and jiving enough for you. I wasn't talking enough slang for you. And which means my dad spoke the King's English. And it also means that guy did not think that blacks were intelligent enough or able to purchase this house. But I said, well, give me the keys. It's too late now. Come on up off them keys. And that's how he bought our first house. And we lived there until I was 3 or 4. That's a crazy time. Can you imagine? Now, if everyone, you say, oh, this stuff doesn't exist. Just imagine. If my dad was white, he wouldn't have had a problem with it. But his perception of blacks was skewed. And he already had this persona that he wasn't going to sell to a black person. This thing, that's not that long ago. I'm still alive. That's less than 50 years ago. So when you tell me that stuff is behind us and everything, it's not. Take a good look at what's going on, and you see. If you know, you know. You'll know what's going on. But it's still relevant to this day. This is not that long ago that this happened. This is not that long ago. But you know what? You know what I'm going to say? You already know it. He stood 10 toes down, baby. Said, give me them keys. Give me the keys to my kingdom. He planted the little garden. They did all kinds of stuff on that land. And then we moved. But with that, I'm getting back off topic into the story again. I digress. My dad is always 10 toes down. He's done some amazing things in his life. And it'll never be published if I don't talk about it. And with that, they're gone out.